a lot of people think I'm naive for this. Hopefully, there's a lot of you that don't. But then again, perhaps maybe I am naive. But I believe that one of our biggest defenses that protects the American people from tyranny is the United States Constitution. Most people throughout the world regard this as the greatest governing document ever created. Now, what we have here is a story about Cliven Bundy. As you all know, he won a standoff with the government, who made a big deal about wanting to make him pay them grazing rights for his cows grazing on their land, even though it specifically states that the U.S. government cannot own lands that's not for forts, ports, or other important government buildings outside of the 10 miles that was established for Washington, D.C. But somehow, they've went and taken all this land unconstitutionally. And they want to charge people to let their cows eat grass. And it's not like they're out there planting grass, it just grows. Now, so he fought and they won. So his sons took the fight to Oregon. And they wanted ranchers to go and stand up for the Constitution. You know what? Even though him and his sons and all these other people are in prison, there are more and more ranchers around the country who are standing up for their rights and their liberty, and they're standing up for the Constitution. Now, there's a couple of things here that I want to point out. Let me just scroll through here real quick. They're talking through here about how he doesn't know how to ranch, and he just lets them go wherever. He doesn't really feed them. He lets them get diseases. He lets them get hurt, and then he just sells them whenever he feels like it, basically. Like, they just make him to make it sound like he's the worst rancher in the history of the universe, and he's destroying this special grass and destroying artifacts. Okay. So now it's this big, huge problem for the Bureau of Land Management. Now, I want you to really hear and understand this passage that they put in this article. A roundup of the cattle on public land could mean that they would become the property of the Bureau of Land Management, who could then potentially sell the herd. That's right. This man, regardless of what you think of him, regardless of what you think of his sons, their constitutional complaint against the government is valid. Unless we no longer have a constitution that is in fact the supreme law of the land, that contains our inalienable rights that cannot be taken away, the government does not have the right to own as much land as they do. They are allowed to own land for forts, ports, and other government buildings, right? And this man fought against them owning all this land that the Constitution clearly defines that they cannot, and that this land actually belongs to the states. Now, because he stood up for what is in fact right constitutionally, he is in prison. Not only is he in prison, But now they are telling you that they are going to take his cattle, steal his cattle, and sell his cattle for profit. Now, mind you, with all of our government is doing to blatantly hide GMOs from the American public, even though they're telling you they're safe, they don't want you to know what's in the food. Which means, once again, they're liars. The best alternative to get yourself away from this poisons that they are feeding to you in the masses is to become a rancher and grow your own food and have control of what's going into your body. And a lot of people, like the Bundys, have been doing that exact thing for a very long time. And at some point, the government decided to step in and make their life difficult and be like, you need to start paying us for your cattle's eating. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you ever heard? Land they're not even supposed to own, that they're owning unlawfully, they want you to pay for cows to eat grass. And it's not even grass that they're planting, it's just there. And they want you to pay for it. Now, is this what our nation has come down to? I don't care what you think about the people and how they handled the situation. The simple fact is the Constitution is what the Constitution is. There is no different versions of interpretations you can put on this thing. It's cleared out in very clear and uncertain terms. There is no room for misinterpretation. So, is this what we've come down to in America? Is where if you want to stand up for your rights that are protected by the United States Constitution, the greatest document of governance ever created, that they throw you in jail, and now they can also steal your property and sell it? I mean, are our government just a bunch of thieves? Because I feel pretty confident that if I were to go steal millions of dollars worth of cattle and I sold them, I would be in prison. Even if the person that I robbed was a criminal who was in jail, I would still go to prison. So the two questions I want to ask here is A, should not our elected officials be accountable as the average American citizen? If you or I are to go to jail for theft, for burglary, whatever it is, if one of our elected leaders commits the exact same offense, shouldn't they go to jail just like we would? Or are they above the law and are they beyond reproach? Because I don't think so. I don't think that's the way our founding fathers set up this nation. And just look here. Do you see this? This is a map of all the land that the federal government owns. And look, the dark green, right, is the high percentage of stuff the government owns. 34.7 in New Mexico, 42.3 in Arizona, 47.7 California, 81% in Nevada, 53% of Oregon, almost 29% of Washington, almost 62% of Idaho, 67% of Utah, 48% of Wyoming, 30% of Montana. And isn't it interesting I find it interesting that it looks to me, by looking at this map and by where all these dark green areas start and stop going from left to right, isn't it interesting how that almost looks like a border? Does it not look like a border? It looks like a border to me. But if it is a border, then a border for what? Is this to start setting up the guidelines for these mega cities that are going to be set up when the United Nations takes over here? Is this all the land that's going to be off limits? Is everybody going to be thrown out of every state west of Texas? I don't know, but it seems pretty strange. And that also seems pretty unconstitutional. If they want to change the Constitution and take out the provisions about what lands the federal government can and cannot own, I have absolutely zero problem with them owning all the land. None. But the simple fact is, until they do that, they're wrong. They're not supposed to own land, and they're not supposed to be able to take your stuff, steal it, and sell it just because they're accusing you of a crime. That's right, because he's still just being accused. You are guilty. You are innocent until proven guilty in this country, last time I checked. But we all know it's only a matter of time before that gets reversed. So anyways, that's just some of my thoughts about this story. I will leave a link, let you guys check it out. If you would, leave me your comments. I'm interested to hear them. I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all take care.